Hey everybody, this is John. Welcome to the Unconditional Life.
I'm Johnny.
We're here today to talk to you a little bit more about how we feel about love and this thing we call the unconditional life. Today we want to touch on the subject of fear. In specific, fear of truly leaning into authentic loving relationships and being all the way present in those relationships.
Yeah, important topic today, John, because when you step back from your life in a second and just look at it with a little bit different perception, you'll realize that fear is probably the number one thing that prevents us from, number one, accomplishing the things that we want in our life, but also it keeps us from truly being able to tap into our unconditional love while we interact with the people around us.
Yes, absolutely. I remember as a younger parent, a lot of times my kids the fear of what they thought the punishment was going to be would be so great that we wouldn't even get to deal with the original issue. I remember many times, well, why didn't you just tell me you didn't go to school that day? Well, I didn't want you to freak out. Well, when I found out, I didn't freak out anyway. And so often, I think, in specific, I think for my own life, how many times has the fear of someone's reaction to a conversation, even loving conversations, whether it's loving criticism, loving feedback, whether it's lovingly asking for something that you need in your relationship, our fear of actually being authentic and vulnerable and maybe getting shot down stops us a lot of times. It keeps us right frozen in the starting gates. We don't even get in the race.
Yeah, it does. It paralyzes you. That's exactly right. And the thing is, you were just saying it, how you used to be, think I'm gonna get in trouble, so you're afraid, and then you don't tell Dad what happened. You broke the lamp, whatever. The funny thing is 95% of the things that you think or are afraid of in your mind never happen. Almost all of the things that you're afraid are gonna happen don't happen. Don't happen at least the way that you think, or doesn't end up carrying the result that you were afraid that was gonna happen. That right there. Our mind is what does it most of the time to us. It's not even the actual events that we're dealing with. It's what our mind has told us is coming from these events, and whether it's true or not, we trust the fears in our mind. And then we just need to get back to, number one, not being so tied to the outcome of something, because that's another thing that really drives fear, is not getting a certain result, the expectations that you thought were going to be there. So if you kind of have a little bit of, go with the flow type of attitude, then you can have preferences. It's easy to want things, but you don't necessarily need to be tied to those outcomes.
I would dare say that removing an agenda from your life might just help you lean into this whole concept of living in a loving, unconditional circumstance more than anything else we could do. I think about how many times I heard one time, I wish I could remember who said it, but I heard one time, I actually believe, and I'm going to give credit, I believe Gary Acevedo told me one time that everything that I want is on the other side of a conversation with a human being. And the trick is, I either don't know I need to have that conversation, or more often, I'm afraid to have that conversation, and so I just accept the status quo instead of actually asking for what I want. And I have found that to be overwhelmingly true with parents, with children, with spouses, even in business. Just the fear to even authentically go say, hey, Johnny, I need this from you.
Yeah.
With no attachment, whether I get it or not, doesn't matter. And have that space of authentically asking from a space of, I'm not afraid if I get it or not, allows you to be free. And certainly after time, it becomes easier. Oh, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. It didn't end up being like
the way I thought.
Exactly. And fear prevents you from being authentically yourself. So like you were just saying, fear is the number one thing that allows us to make different choices other than the ones that are true to our heart inside. They prevent us from being truly who we are. And it comes in, just like you said, the way you parent. Do you parent your children with fear that they're going to do something that you're afraid of? Or do you parent with love, just wanting the best for your children, regardless of what that looks like to them? And it may be different to what it looks like to you. But having the fear that your child's not going to turn out the way you envisioned is a big fear that parents hold on to. I trust me, I know I'm one of them. For the longest time, that's exactly the way I parented. It's just by parenting from fear.
One of these days, we will absolutely have to have a podcast about unconditional parenting.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I see fear in parenting at a huge level. Our fear that our kids won't turn out right. And that, even in itself, you talk about fear, I'll bet you probably 99% of the time that I've been afraid of something that never happened. And even if, like you said, it did, it happened. I couldn't control it anyway. You drive around your whole life, and when there's a car wreck, you just deal with it. You don't get in. You're not afraid every time you get in your car that you're going to get car wreck. You still drive. And I would dare say, if you lean into your relationships with that same authenticity, with establishing boundaries. People think boundaries is a way to block people out. No, boundaries is a way to say, I love you enough to tell you these things don't work for me, so we can be together. And we get even that, even in our setting boundaries, we're so afraid that people won't like us. Maybe they don't like us anyway. That might be a news flash. That we're so afraid they don't like us, or they're not going to like us, that we don't just say the one simple thing. Hey, bro, I love you so much, but you're 5 minutes late everywhere you go. It drives me crazy. Do I need to tell you we're leaving earlier? Just something simple. And then it's not between us if that's you.
Right.
You happen to be always early. I'm the always late guy. But if we don't ever talk about it, then it's just this weird thing that's there. And I'm afraid, Johnny won't like me if I just tell the truth. What is that? Maybe we would really love each other if we just told the flippin' truth more often and quit politically correcting ourselves. And I don't mean be mean. You don't got to be a jerk about it. But political correctness might have gone just a little bit too far.
Yeah. Anything that you do or say that's not true to who you are on the inside, you're lying to yourself. And all form of deception and lying comes from fear. It's because what's real about the situation you don't want to be known.
Absolutely.
So because of that mentality, if there's something real that's going on that you don't want to be known, look in the mirror. We just talked about self-love a couple episodes ago. That's a reflection of something within yourself manifesting that you don't necessarily, or haven't forgiven yourself for, or don't necessarily love about yourself. So you see how they kind of tie in together.
Absolutely.
Unconditionally loving yourself will actually free you from most of this fear that we're talking about, if not all of it. It all boils down to being unconditional with yourself.
I'm reminded of a question that a friend asked me a long time ago. And I would say that this is a great way to determine where some of your great fear lies. Cade Janes, I met him with you, Brother Brad. Cade Janes asked me one time, what's the one character flaw that you spend the most time trying to hide? And I'll bet you, that question rocked me for a minute. Because I thought about it hard. I'm not on time. That's the one thing that I've had to build the world around me to be kind of an ish world. And if I have to be somewhere right on time, I will absolutely make it. But 99% of the time, I'm going to set up a schedule so I'm 3:30-ish. And it was interesting when he asked me that question. Where do you spend the most time trying to cover something up? And I just went right to what? I'm afraid that people won't like me because I have a hard time with time. And so until that day, I would do my best to get there. And then I just realized all I have to do is set an expectation so people aren't frustrated. Then I don't got to be afraid I'm late. It's so simple.
Yeah. Be upfront. If that's going to be your style, just be upfront about it.
Yep.
If it doesn't work, they'll let you know right then and there.
And they always do.
They usually do.
People always do. I had a client recently tell me, 9 o'clock-ish, time is literally money, John. I need you to be here at 9. And I said, Kevin, I'll be right there. It was that simple. He knew exactly. That's his boundary. Now, every time I go to Kevin's house, I'm there right at 9.
With what we do and deal with, everybody's different in the way they live their lives. With what we're going through and what we deal with on a daily basis, fear robs us of so much that we could enjoy out of life. Fear keeps you from being fully in the moment with whoever you're with or whatever you're doing. That's one thing I've strived to take advantage of. I'm alive. Every breath I take, I'm here. It means I'm supposed to be doing something. And if I don't, I need to get beyond my fear to be able to enjoy every single moment I'm with myself or with another person whom I love. But if I'm sitting there judging everything I've done in the past or afraid of what's coming in the future, if you're in your head, which fear lives in your head, so if you're in your head, where are you? You're not here.
Not here.
You're not
here.
You're not here. And if you're not here, you're missing it. There is every single moment in this life I truly believe is a gift. Not just for you. The person you're interacting has brought a gift for you, and you have brought a gift to the person you're interacting with. It's up to us to let that manifest itself in that relationship. If we're stuck sitting in our fear and thinking about the things that, could go wrong in our lives, we're going to miss those moments every time.
Well, we spent a lot of time focused on what one day when we're good enough, when we earn the reward, when we get to. But I would pose the question that maybe the only real life that matters is now. I spent my whole life worried about whether I was going to heaven or hell. And I was so worried about where I was going to be or where I might have been that I forgot to be where I was and I missed it. So I think I heard a really interesting quote once. It said, everything happened just the way it happened because it was supposed to happen that way. And you know how you know that's the way it was supposed to happen? Because that's the way it happened. And all the fear in the world doesn't stop the divorce. It doesn't stop the job loss. But I would bet that love and confidence puts you in a different place to deal with that when said circumstance occurs. And again, I'll talk a little bit about my service business. I, years ago, learned that I was going to be talking to a lot of people who were across a varying range of age demographics and financial demographics and really diverse amount of people. I also realized that I had this blessing. I could talk to a lot of older people. And I have asked a lot of older people as we're wrapping up, what do they wish they'd have done? None of them wish they would have worried more. Every single one of them will tell you, I wish I would have kissed the girl. I wish I would have took the trip. I wish I would have jumped out of the plane. I wish I would have spent more time at home. None of them talk about, I'm so glad I worried about all the stuff in my life that I couldn't change. And I think that fear just literally debilitates us. Instead of, forget everything and run, it should be face everything and recover. Like we have this amazing opportunity to live from our hearts, to be intentional on purpose, to be nice to each other, to be nice to ourselves. What purpose in the world does worrying about traffic on the way home do for you? That's the biggest thing for me. If it's not bringing me a benefit, it's not adding value to my life or to the life of people that I love, why would I waste my time being afraid?
Yeah. And fear, just like you were saying, has robbed those people of the moments they wish they took advantage of. I'm trying my hardest every day to live without the fear that I carried around with me for such a long time. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Every single day is a struggle as I evolve into the person that I envision myself being able to be. But one thing that has got me to at least the next step in my path is being able to look at fear in the face and understand that it's not real. The thing that I'm having issues with, or the things that I'm dealing with, the mentality of being afraid of the results of that equals fear. And I'm trying to live in the moment and not let fear rob me of those blessings that life has for me. And so that's just something that I wanted to make sure that we shared with you guys. Please, please, please find a way to look fear in the face and realize that it's just false evidence appearing real, and don't miss your moments.
Absolutely. And with that last thought, just remember that you already have a 100% track record of all the days you didn't think you could do. You made it. You're here. If you're listening to us, you already did more hard things than you thought you were capable of. And you can. And you will. And I promise Love will empower you endlessly.